Hello again, Peter French, wanting to talk to you about implementing the sales strategy. It must be noted that we're not trying to teach salespeople in this process, but rather our objective is to expose you, the business leader, the entrepreneur, or the manager of a sales process, to the concepts that must be in place, that just must be in place if you are to build, to manage and perform through a sales team. In our introduction, we made a lot about building a process, but we hope you picked up that it's not just having 5 or whatever number of steps in your sales process which is going to make it work. It's the tasks to be performed in each step that make the juices flow. And if you're not doing it, and you're relying on others, then your regular and formal review has to hone in on these tasks, because by your recognition and evaluation, they will become second nature to your sales team, and they will be able to answer them confidently. That is the path to success. We touched on the work that must be done between the first meeting of a suspect and the final decision to fully engage this qualified prospect in our further sales process. Imagine yourself questioning an overconfident and extremely enthusiastic salesperson with bright eyes and bushy tail on their knowledge of a prospect they say is closing any day now. So tell me, do they need it? Describe your defined requirement of this solution or product or service. Either it fixes a problem they have, and do you know what that is, or it will cause some desired outcome, normally an increase of revenue or a decrease in costs. Who in the buying center has a compelling reason to buy from you? Are they standing on a burning platform and they just have to get off? There's a situation in the decider's business life which will compel a decision, or there will be consequences like a loss of a bonus, missed KPIs, or even the loss of their job. Very often, customers know their problem, which is their pain, or understand the opportunity, which can be said is their gain, but they can put it off. The rule of thumb is that as much as 70% of all opportunities that don't close are called need gone away. Can you articulate how are you able to differentiate your offering, our offering, and your enterprise, our enterprise, from the competition? This is your opportunity to find a compelling reason for them to buy only from you. Their perspective is that they can only get this from you, which becomes our unique selling proposition. Do they own the data which identifies why they should spend $10 to make $100? The value of the fix. It's not good enough for us to define their cost. We need also to define the value of the outcome that the spend will deliver. And it's not good enough for us to just show them this projected value. Of course, if it's an intangible, we need to try and get a dollar value attached to that outcome. They need to own the data. They need to have a trusted internal advisor which proves this outcome's value. Will they spend the money to fix the problem? Many suspects present as though it is a fact that they have the money. However, a budget can't be banked. Here, the actual persona holding the strings of the money bags not only commits funds to this project, but these funds are not under threat to be channeled into a competing project when the close demands them? Do they have a deadline, an internal must-achieve milestone for their project? If so, can we work back from that peg in the ground and define their decision date? Could it be a board meeting time and date? If there's no end game, the project can slip and slide at someone else's pleasure. Maybe it can never close. If you pour all your time and effort, cost and energy into a project like that, your cost of sales escalates, and if it doesn't close, your margins can go to hell in a handbasket. Do you understand who and how they will make their final decision? Is it a committee? Is it a single person? Have we covered all of those in the buying center? There are defined steps to their buying process. A very interesting dynamic is fully understanding their buying process. This will highlight work that they must do to get this project off the ground, including applying their decision criteria. We have found that an intimate knowledge of this process differentiates us substantially from those that just want to sell and gives us an opportunity to help the process advance. Just like the enterprise ecosystem in our organization can adversely affect our sales process, so can the customers adversely affect their buying process. If we can help or advise on their own bottlenecks to the successful conclusion of the buying process, then we can earn significant trust and credibility. Steps, milestones, buckets, whatever you call them, what you have in your sales process, they're just points in time. They have to be enlivened as a business process with tasks that have been carefully thought through, defined, documented, and practiced in a role play, so that until a newbie can be certified against them, they can't be customer facing. Only then will you be able to see the franchise model working for you. Whether you sell lipsticks, consumer goods, or mainframes, high-ticket items, your sales process, you are not different. This is a serious gift that you can give to your asset of value, one that will surely outlive you. In defining the personas that populate the buying center, we don't mean to suggest that this is the only way to find everyone who can positively or negatively affect the outcome of our sales project. The point is that you need to define your way and fully question for it, because if you don't, you and your salespeople will be flying blind. Can your people speak intimately about what turn-on push buttons are relevant for every one of the buying personas in a sales project? We should also build a written elevator pitch that will present our brand value for sales projects for each of the buying personas, and sometimes customize them even just for a single sales opportunity. Just because a sales pitch worked once, you can't trot that pitch out every time and then don't understand why it doesn't work. Many sales managers force canned pitches on their salespeople, mainly product pitches. And guess what? They are only redundant. They are all redundant, and only they fit one persona in that buying center. Prospects don't want to hear about you. They want to hear about how much you understand their problem and fix them. So let me introduce to as Moody. If you don't build this capability It will be like flying blind with mud in your eye. Every one of these personas can represent themselves as another, or even all of those that can positively or negatively affect your sales project. The trick is not to fall headlong into their story, but to navigate as far and wide as necessary to qualify their roles. It is said that in news reporting or legal terms, a truth can only be believed once it has been verified by two sources. So do your homework. The salesperson must know these personas intimately, know them by name, and know how to influence them and what their hot buttons are. And you need to question for this understanding, or you'll always have a business process that is producing 1 out of 3 or 30% of what they promise. This is basically a close, that's a close of a project, a rule of thumb. Would you accept that outcome from any of your other business processes? Like the salary process as an example. Hell no. So you've decided on your selling price. That is what we're asking for, as we believe there is perceived value from our prospects and the customers at that price. But our selling price is made up of a number of components. Fixed costs are the costs we incur just to do business: rent, insurance, infrastructure, etc. Every penny is spent before the first one comes rolling in. Then we have variable costs, and these are the costs that are incurred while running after a deal. It could be incurred by things like transport, telephone calls, phone calls, commission, if we make the deal, but also management and sales time as we try and influence the customer with our abilities, and could include the cost of site visits and sometimes expensive site visits and demonstrations. So what's left over is called margin, and then that's all good. Now just say we don't win this deal. We've spent our fixed cost and variable cost, and there's no revenue to recoup this cost. A new deal comes along, and for the sake of our demonstration, the fixed and the variable costs are identical. But new fixed and new variable costs are incurred in this new deal. But look, what's happened to our margin? Thank goodness this is only a demonstration, but I hope you get our drift. "15 prospects are entered into the sales pipeline of two competing," okay, remember this is just an example to make a point, "teams. The red team and the blue team. They both win 3 of the 15 prospects, and therefore 12 are lost during the process because of whatever factors. The red team, number 1, loses opportunity at the beginning of their process, and then a further 2 during the crafting phase, and some more, and 5 during our delivery phase. Remember, this is just a demonstration. That's their 12 losses and 3 opportunities close and are able to deliver revenue. Then along comes the blue team. They decide not to engage with 5 during their first engagement with suspects. 4 of them are kicked into touch. Before they spend a lot of cost of sale creating a proposal, doing demonstrations, and engaging expensive subject experts in the process of building a solution. 2 during the close, because they've chosen their field of battle. Prospects are more than likely to choose us, but some will always decide against our offering. And lastly, 1 during the last phase, because our offering and our customers' needs are so closely aligned. The moral of the story is that the longer we carry opportunities that don't close, the more complicated our end process becomes. And that lowers our chance against a team which concentrates on a few well-chosen opportunities. Anecdotally, the cost of losing in the last lap against losing early by not engaging everything that moves brings down our cost of sale by at least an order of magnitude. Where does that go? Into the margins of those we win. Well, thanks for listening. We hope you feel that you know the importance of the qualitative tasks that make up the milestones and points in time on your sales process. Your task as a leader, manager, and entrepreneur is to use a pattern in your best salesperson, which is maybe yourself, and document that so that the franchise model can be used to find and build personnel that deliver on your expectations. That these tasks have a depth of quality that is represented by our mnemonic as Moody. That offers us the opportunity to influence wide and deep in our prospects, and for you to question and evaluate the work done to deliver a sales project. Then lastly, why are we doing this? To protect our cost of sales, spend, and to understand how losses drive our margins down. Your enterprise will be a better and more profitable place if you just make these concepts alive and make them your own.